All right. So, welcome to our junior info session night. Um, I love this night because I'm somebody who loves to get ahead and plan and be prepared. And so I'm guessing if you're a junior and you're here tonight, that is kind of who you are too. Maybe you're a parent who is getting ready to walk their junior through senior year, and wants to do everything they can to help them now. So whether you're a student or a parent, I'm so glad you're here. And I'm excited to talk about, yeah, basically my kind of, as a college and career counselor, top 5 to-dos for every 11th grader that you can start on now, to help you feel ready for all that next year brings. So, if we haven't met, my name is Allison Steife. I am the career and college counselor for Baker Early College. If you're a web student, a Baker Web student, you're more than welcome to be here. Or if you watch the recording back, this all will apply to you as well. Well, most of it. So, um, like I said, tonight is going to be our top 5 to-dos, to try to keep it simple. It sounds simple at the surface, but as we go on, you'll maybe think, this is a lot. But we're going to break it down into 5 categories. Exploring your interests and careers, possible careers, finding or at least starting to explore a good college fit, taking an entrance exam. Number 4, prepare some of your application elements for college. And then 5, making a paying for college plan. So you'll see that overall, this is all stuff to help not just prepare for senior year, but especially for our college going seniors. So even if you are not sure about whether you're going to go to college, preparing as if you are and keeping that door open is so important so that if things shift, you decide, yes, I am going to go to college in the fall of 2025, which sounds far away, but really isn't. Then, yeah, these are all things that you're going to want to do to keep that ball rolling and keep that door open. You can always change your mind and say, actually, I'm going to pause and take a gap year, or whatever. But this will, yeah, get you on the right path. So, number 1, exploring those interests and careers. I'm pretty passionate as a college and career counselor about not necessarily jumping the gun when it comes to college and not just like hopping on the college conveyor belt, as kind of like what I always call it. Because I feel like that's something I did. I jumped on the college conveyor belt before I really, really, really explored careers, and what kind of degree will lead me to that specific career and that kind of stuff. So let's talk a little bit about how to do that well. I talked to an admissions counselor one time who said this is one of the questions he always asks himself as he's looking at an application is like, what does this student value? And how would I know that based on how they spend their time? So I'm going to pose that question to you. What do you value, and how would somebody know that based on how you spend your time? One way to explore your interests um, and your values is through extracurriculars to try to figure out what you love, what you're passionate about, what you like to do through actually doing it. Do you like to be part of a team? Do you like to do more solo things? Do you like those leadership roles? Or if not the obvious leadership roles, what ways do you lead well? Or do you contribute well to any given thing? So I would say try to gain some leadership roles in your extracurricular. That doesn't mean like you have to be the president of the thing or like the, whatever, like again, the like traditional leader, but if you're like the treasurer for your club, like that's a leadership position. So look for ways to step up um, and put yourself in a growth position. Not only does that look really great on an application, but again, it helps you get an idea of your strengths, which are going to apply to your eventual career choices. If you haven't joined any clubs, now would be a great time to do that. You can do that if you're an early college student at your local community college. There's all kinds of clubs that you're welcome to join. So that's an option. If you do sports, you can hopefully, you can continue to do sports and music and those kinds of things through OSA, through Baker. So anyways, keep doing what you're doing. If you're super involved with things, if you're not, find some new things to try. It doesn't have to be a club. It can be community service and volunteer work and other kinds of things too, but put yourself out there, start doing some things. Volunteer work is an excellent one. Internships and jobs. So if you feel like you are really ready to actually delve into a career field, then go for it. Look for an internship. I have a link here. Oh, and you know what? I never posted the slides, the link to the slides in our chat. What am I thinking? I have all these links for you that you can't even click on. Let me open up our chat. There you go. I have a link there to our blog post all about kind of what exactly is an internship, if you've heard that word, but don't know what it actually looks like, especially as somebody who's still in high school. Internships are more traditionally something that college students will do, but there are definitely opportunities for high schoolers out there. You just have to look a little harder and know where to look. But this is where you basically get real world experience from local employers. So if you are interested in, let's say, video production, and you want to kind of start living a day in the life here and there, an internship isn't usually like a full-time job. It's part-time. And it just, lets you get your feet on the ground and experience the thing. You may find that, oh my gosh, yes, I love what the video production world looks like. Or you might get in there and actually start doing it and think, this might not be for me. So both are important. Just because you do it and you don't love it doesn't mean that's not success. It just means that you avoided majoring in the thing that you didn't actually love to do after all. So it can serve both purposes, getting some good experience or, again, pointing you in the right direction. I have a link here to, again, I'm in Central Oregon, so this is the one I'm most familiar with, is Youth Career Connect. They connect local businesses to with high school students for internship opportunities. So if you're in Central Oregon, check that out. I think that in our blog post link, we have kind of similar organizations in other regions that you can check out. You can even look for actual jobs on websites like Indeed. Just make sure in the search bar you're typing basically your age. So, jobs for students under 16 years old, that kind of thing. And you'll find that there are opportunities. So in not just at McDonald's, but like other places that can give you some great experience. Another great way to explore those interests, especially if you're a Baker early college student who has access to their local community college's catalog of courses. There are so many classes you can take to explore your interests. Graphic design classes. There's classes that you can take that are geared toward the trades as well, or starting to get a grasp on like the health industry. There's usually like an intro to class that you can take in different fields at your community college. Intro to, I don't know. Sometimes there's things like, forestry that you could explore that you probably couldn't at a traditional high school. So talk to your counselor, talk to your advisor about the kinds of careers you're interested in or the kinds of majors you're interested in, and see what kinds of classes you can take at your college to explore that. You'll meet with your advisor in May to plan out your fall term, but make sure to check back in with them again in the fall, and just make sure, yeah, that you're doing everything you can class-wise to explore those interests. If you're not in early college, if you're a Web Academy student, still check in with your AT and see what possibilities they have available. Okay, and then another way to explore possible careers is through a career assessment where you answer questions about what you like, what you're interested in, what you're good at, and then it will give you some ideas based on your answers. As early college students, you have a login to this resource called Pathful Explore that you can use. And let me see if I can pull it up for you to take a few different assessments. There we go. So once you log in and you click on the assessments page, this is what you'll see. And you can take an interest inventory, a values assessment, an aptitude assessment. So there's different kinds. So basically, what you're good at, what you value, and what you're interested in. Kind of interesting to take all three and see where the stars align. So it'll give you some ideas, some career clusters is what they're called, that you might want to look into. And then you can use the rest of this website to research what that looks like. They have a bunch of videos of people in that industry doing interviews, talking about their day in the life, how they got into that job, what it took, what kind of education it took, or training, all that kind of stuff. So I really like this resource. Don't be afraid to use it. So that's Pathful Explore. Another option, I'm not going to click on all of these because I'll give you three more, but Big Future is a resource I really love. You'll see me reference it again later. They have all kinds of resources. The College Board is the organization that runs Big Future. They also run the SAT. So they're big in the college world. They know what's up. And they have career inventories, they have college search engines, which I will show you, scholarship searches. They offer scholarships if you use their resources. It's all very cool. So if you don't have a Big Future or College Board login, click this link, go make one. You're going to use it, or you should use it a ton starting now all through your senior year. Another college exploration resource that I really love is, it's not as fancy, and there's no assessments involved, but it's called the Occupational Outlook Handbook. It's very kind of cut and dry, but there are a ton of occupations on there that you can search for or kind of click through, and it will tell you all kinds of things about it. What's the job outlook? Is it a growing industry or a shrinking one? What does it pay, both right at the start, kind of in the middle, and by the end of your career? What kind of training is required to get into it? What kinds of strengths are well suited in that occupation? It has a lot of great stuff. So if you have some ideas already of careers you're interested in, this is a fun one to use to kind of get the nitty-gritties on it. And then if you are interested in the trades, Oregon Apprenticeship, this website is stellar. It has all the info you need for starting to research the trades themselves, what's out there, but also how to get apprenticeships and make it happen. So that is awesome if that's your area of interest. Okay. So that was a lot. Like I said, it sounds simple on the surface, But really, it's there. I give you a lot to do there. It's one to do with many to dos all wound into it. So pick and choose from those. Don't feel like you are like, oh, I have to go like join a club and do this assessment all right now. You don't choose your classes for next year. No, like just take it one at a time. It's all there for you to reference back to as you think through some things to do. But once you have a clear idea of what you want to do after college and therefore what you want to major in while you're in college, that's really the prime time to then start researching your college fit. Because hopefully you are going to college, yes, with this like purpose to pursue a career, and certain colleges are going to do that for you better than other ones, depending on what you want to do. So, some ways to start researching colleges and start putting together your like potential college list, which is just such a fun, exciting thing to do. Like I said, my favorite is Big Future. So they have a quiz. You could like do this, get matched with colleges and take their little quiz, and it will give you some ideas. Or you can just kind of do it yourself, kind of narrow it down through the filters that they have based on majors that they offer, where the school is, what kind of school you're interested in, private, public, um, cost, what kind of campus life is involved. Maybe you really want like to join a fraternity or a sorority. That's really important to you. And so making sure you go to a college with that option, those kinds of things, or certain extracurriculars that you definitely want to be involved in. Um, so you can do it one at a time. Looking at this hopefully is giving you kind of an idea of what to think about before you start this process. Where do you want to go to college? Do you want to be somewhere in a city or near the ocean or somewhere far away from a city? Do you want to be somewhere rural? Do you want to go to a small school or a big school? All those kinds of things to start thinking about as you envision yourself in college. If you've been on Overgrad, there is also a college search function through there, through that resource. If you've never logged into Overgrad, ask your advisor for your login. Don't create a new one. We have them made for you, and they're connected to our school. And this is the system that we use to send out like your letters of recommendation and your transcripts and all that good stuff. So it's something that you'll use next year as you're actually applying to colleges. So it's kind of a fun one to start getting a grip on now, if you haven't already. And they have a cool feature where it kind of sorts your odds of admission, the whole idea of a reach, a match, a likely, based on your GPA, your course rigor, your SAT or ACT scores, those kinds of things, which is always nice to know. I always encourage students have one of each or two of each on your college lists. If you are somebody who has no idea what kind of college they want to go to, small, big, urban, rural, public, private, I love this resource. It's called the College Tour. It's basically a TV show with each episode is a college. They're all formatted really similarly. But they do a beautiful job showing you the campus of, they have so many schools on here to choose from. And they're always putting out new episodes with new schools. So, but they show the campuses, they interview students and professors, they show the town that the college is in. They really give you a good idea of what does it look like to go to this college. So what I would say, if you're really unsure of the kind of college you want to go to, find kind of one of each and watch an episode on a really large public school, a really small private school. Like pick a few that are all really different and get an idea of from that episode, like, okay, I see myself there, or like, whoa, that's definitely not my vibe. I think that's a really great place to start. So you don't have to like go around the country and tour schools straight off the bat. You can do it from the comfort of your home. It's nice to live in the year 2024 where we can do these things. If you do have some clear ideas about where you want to go, something to research on those colleges' websites are preview days. Sometimes they're called open houses or visit days. But there might be an opportunity even this spring to go visit the campus and attend classes, stay in the dorms, like again, really get a feel for the school. Um, and and potentially even without having to pay for travel there. Some colleges have the ability to give you some assistance in getting to the college in order to have this kind of experience. So don't if you feel like that's a barrier for you, don't necessarily count it out. Get in touch with their admissions counselors, their admissions department, and see what they can do for you because they want you the if you get on their campus, then you're more likely to go to their school. So they want you to come visit. Okay. So yeah, start making that college list. For now, there's no such thing as a list that's too long. As you get closer to the fall, throughout the summer is a good time to start narrowing it down. But for the spring, just like let that baby grow and have fun with it. So once you get to the fall, I will say I recommend around 5 colleges on that college list. So you are going to narrow it down quite a bit, hopefully. I know students who apply to 10, 15 schools. If that sounds like something that you want to do, you're welcome to, but it can get expensive. So if you feel really confident and only want to apply to 2, you can do that too. But 5 is usually a good number. Okay. So you've explored some interests in possible careers, done some research on that and on colleges. You've started to make that college list and looking into which one could be right for you. You also this spring want to take an entrance exam. If you are on the other side of the screen thinking, I heard entrance exams aren't really a thing anymore. The SAT, the ACT, those things are out. They have been. So ever since COVID, they became every college did become either test optional or test blind at a certain point. At this point, now every college is different. So the UC schools in California remain test blind, meaning if you take the SAT or ACT, we will not even look at your score if you send it in. Don't send it to us. Oregon public schools are test optional. So if you do take the SAT or ACT, you can send your score in with your application. And if you do, they'll look at it. If you don't, they don't hold it against you. And then other schools, private schools in particular, kind of those elite Ivy Leagues are starting to trickle back in as required for admissions. Dartmouth, Yale, those kinds of schools are saying, all right, we're making it happen again. Like the world's back to normal. Everybody is able to take this thing if they want to. So let's do it. The reason why they're requiring it is actually because beyond GPA, like more than GPA, more than anything else, SAT and ACT scores are better. They're the best at predicting college success. And so if they see that you are successful at the SAT or ACT, that is a very strong indicator that you will do well at their school. And so that's why it's a wonderful thing to do and add to your to-do list. So it will enhance your application if you score well. It'll set you apart as somebody who went above and beyond and did something that wasn't required, but you wanted to put the effort in. It will prepare you for the unknown, right? So let's say last minute you decide you do want to apply to Yale. Now you can because you took the SAT or the ACT. And then some schools, this has become less common since COVID, but some schools will still offer you a merit scholarship based on your kind of GPA and SAT or ACT score put together. Again, they don't require it. Most schools will not say you have to have the SAT, but if you have taken the SAT or ACT, you might get scholarship money for it. So something to keep in mind, and maybe look at the schools that you're interested in. If you're wondering, like for those test optional schools, what is a good score? Like what's a score worth sending in? What I would say is it depends on the college. So what you'll want to do is take the test, get your score, or beforehand is better, research what kind of score are you aiming for. You can look up average SAT or ACT score for admitted students at OSU, U of O, wherever you're interested in. And that information is available. So you'll be able to see the scores that the average admitted student had. And so if you score at that average or above, send that test score in. If you scored below that average, just leave it out, is kind of my rule of thumb. If you feel like there's more nuance to it, like maybe your GPA is really low, but you did score just kind of right below that average and you feel like it could boost your application, even though it's not necessarily like at face value impressive, but it does make your application look better. Let's talk about it. Send me your questions if they get specific like that. Okay. So how you'll take the SAT or ACT, I have a link here with the test dates and links to register. So, oh no, wait, this one is not that link. This one is a link on the differences between the SAT and SAT and ACT. If you're trying to decide which one to take, you can start here. Start studying. I have 2 free resources here. If you're taking the SAT, College Board, who makes the SAT, and Khan Academy paired up, and they made this really lovely free study resource where you can take a practice test and it will create a study plan for you based on your results and when you're going to take the test. And it's like actual SAT questions because they've partnered with the College Board. So you can't do any better and it's free. So that's a great resource. There are also free resources for the ACT to study. I have links here for the websites for each of these that you'll want to make an account, register, study, take the test. Here are the upcoming dates for spring, if you're wondering. So there are test dates in April, May, and June. Every month you can take it. There are also test dates starting at the very beginning of the fall, like August, usually. And so if you would rather wait and study and take it then, go for it. Just know that you want to take it right at the beginning, like August or September, maybe October, to get those results back in time for applications, especially if you're going to apply like early in November or to like that. Yeah, there's some colleges with early action or early decision deadlines as soon as November 1st. So keep that in mind. If you qualify for free and reduced lunch, you can get a waiver for the SAT or ACT. So you can, if you're at BEC, go ahead and contact our principal. If you're a BWA student, I have a link to this form, which hopefully is still, that's what they used last year. So hopefully that's still valid. If before filling that out, you might want to check with your AT. Okay, that one was easier, right? Pretty straightforward. Take the SAT or the ACT. Okay. Number 4, did you know you can already start prepping your applications? Like you can already start working on them. You don't have to, but you can. So if you're excited and you want to just get going, yeah. In some ways, you are preparing your application elements right now as you take classes and earn grades for them that will show up on your transcripts. So one of the very best things you can do, in fact, don't work on other elements of your application if you're struggling with your GPA. Just focus on that for now. And keep working hard to get those grades that you are going to feel proud to show a college when you send your transcripts in. If you don't know what your transcripts look like, you don't know what your GPA is, those kinds of things, meet with your advisor, get a copy of your transcript, and make sure you're very aware of what that looks like before you think about handing it into colleges. Just so you know for yourself. I talked about Overgrad, so you can activate your Overgrad account. That's where you're gonna request your transcripts next year. Like I said, it's gonna be where you do a lot of your document stuff for your applications. So if you don't know your login, again, ask your advisor. They'll have your login. Letters of recommendation. This one is like a missed opportunity for a lot of juniors, but it is like the best time. Spring term is the best time to start putting out feelers for your letters of recommendation. Because if you wait until the fall, you'll have had the whole summer off, and these professors, you'll not be fresh on these professors' minds or teachers' minds necessarily. And so if you can get them to write you a letter of recommendation at the end of spring term, and then you just have them hold on to it and submit it in the fall, I like to recommend that as much as possible. If you're wondering who's a good recommender, I would say it's probably good to ask 2 of your educators, so either a professor or a teacher, depending on kind of your course work class experience. It can be somebody from your old high school if you feel like you were really close to them, or it could be somebody new. Your school counselor is going to be your advisor, is going to be a great recommender and sometimes required. And then it's nice to have one other. If you're somebody who knows that they're going to apply to like a private Christian college, a lot of times they like to have a recommender who is like a spiritual mentor in your life, like a pastor or a small group leader or whatever. So that might be a good person to ask. Or let's say you are going to study music and you have a long standing relationship with your piano instructor. Get a letter of recommendation from them, right? So 2 teachers, your counselor, and somebody else. So 4 people. I'm going to recommend you ask 4 people for a letter of recommendation. You might use these for college itself, for your college applications themselves. You might also use them, though, for scholarship applications. So they're good things to have somebody write and hold on to, and then request that they send it in as needed. So if you are really on it, something that I recommend is completing, it's called a brag sheet. You could Google it, like Google brag sheet template. And basically this is it's a brag sheet. It's a little Q&A where you can write down things that you hope that they mention in their letter of recommendation for you, or things that might jog their memory about your strengths or contributions to the course or whatever. So yeah, that's a nice thing to say. Hey, would you write my letter of recommendation? They say yes. You say, thank you so much. I have this brag sheet attached just in case it helps you as you write it. So it's a nice thing just to include. They don't have to use it, but it can help them out. In regards to like how to do this well, I think an email is nice if it's not somebody that you see in person a lot necessarily. So if you send them an email and they have their request in writing, you could then follow up in person. So during office hours or after class or at your next piano lesson or whatever, and just say, hey, I was just wondering if you got my email about writing a letter of recommendation for me. Just to make sure that they got it, they read it, they know it's there, and you're putting like your best foot forward by asking them in person. And then, like I said, ask that they write it before the end of the school year and then let them know that you'll follow back up in the fall when it comes time to submit it to schools or scholarships or whatnot. So the earlier you ask, the better the letter that you're gonna get is kind of a rule of thumb. Like if you ask somebody to write you a letter of recommendation 2 weeks before it's due, that's like the bare minimum. I say like, oh, you'll get an okay letter. They'll feel a little rushed, but they'll get it done, I imagine. If you do less than that, if you're like, I need a letter of recommendation in 1 week or less, in 5 days, 3 days, not only is that going to be a rushed letter, but they're not going to be holding you all that well in their mind as they write it. They're going to be thinking, this student asking at the last minute. It's not gonna it's not gonna read like this student is amazing. Probably. So keep that in mind. The earlier and the more respectful, the better your letter is going to be. Another kind of application element that you can start working on, this is one that you can just start working on very slowly, because it can be time consuming if you do it all at once, is to start writing out all of the activities that you've been involved in throughout high school, or if those activities also go back to like middle school, you can include that. But basically, what volunteer work have you done? What clubs, sports, those kinds of things, camp counselor gigs, whatever. And then just keep adding to it throughout the fall. But have that like template going. I have a template actually for you. I have this linked, that something that looks similar to this right here, that has your activity, what kind of activity, when you did it, how long you did it, and what kinds of responsibilities or accomplishments are tied to your experience with that activity. You will have to input this information multiple times. You'll have to do it in your Common App. And then if you have colleges that you're applying to that don't use the Common App, you'll have to probably do it again. Scholarships, sometimes you have to input this information. So it's really nice to just have your own copy of it written down or on your computer that you can reference each time you do this, so that you're not having to think back each time, and trying to remember all these details each time. Hopefully that makes sense. So start writing it down now. If you are really a go-getter, you can start writing your college essays, at least for the Common App. So if your schools are Common App schools, which you can make your Common App log in an account now if you want, and start adding schools that you think you're going to apply to. But you can also see you can actually fill out the applications, but you can see the prompts for the personal statement. So the personal statement is that like big college essay that everyone thinks of. And yeah, they have all the prompts available to you, so you can start writing it whenever you want. If you do want to start writing it, a great place to start is with this resource, the College Essay Guy. He has a bunch of free resources on how to brainstorm and kind of get the process started. He has examples of really well-written essays and just all kinds of stuff that's going to help you wrap your mind around what is a college essay and how do I make mine great? Because it really is kind of its own little genre of essay. So check him out. He's going to help you. And yeah, start brainstorming and drafting. If you're a writer and you love to do this kind of stuff, and this is fun for you, go for it. The summer is also a great time to do this when you don't have writing to do for your courses. One thing too that you can do, it's not a required application element per se, but it will help your applications, is start expressing some demonstrated interest. If you've never heard this term before, it's basically showing the colleges before you apply to them that you're interested in them. I don't remember the statistic, but I saw somewhere it was most students, the first time a school hears from them is through their application. Not once before that have they emailed emailed an admissions counselor or gone on a tour or signed up for the newsletter or any of that stuff. And that's fine, but they are more likely to accept you if they think that you are interested in them. They're more interested in you if they think you're more interested in them. And so if you start showing that interest now and compiling it throughout from now until applications are due, then that's gonna kind of just give you some bonus points on your application. So like I said, you could get on the school's mailing list, go on a campus tour, reach out to your admissions counselor at that school with some questions. So and they make note of these things like in your file. So yeah, just make them aware of you before you hit that submit button on your application. Okay, last but not least, definitely not least, number 5, make a paying for college plan. This is again something just to start. You don't need to like sit down and do this in a night, but start thinking about how you're going to pay for college. How much does it cost? What kinds of aid might you get? Where's the deficit? Are parents helping you with that? Or are you going to get an on-campus job? Are you going to take out loans? Like what's your plan going to be? Because one of the worst things you can do is go into college really blindly when it comes to a financial plan and just sign up for as many loans as possible to make it happen and then worry about it later, because later will come and later will be hard paying back those loans. Research the cost of attendance. Start looking at some of those schools on your list as you make it to get an idea of how much does this school cost per year? How many years am I going to need to attend? You Baker early college students are probably going to have some credits under your belt, college credits to contribute. So you might not go for 4 years. You might go for 3 or even 2 or 2.5, right? Whatever that is. But start thinking about how many years am I going to spend in college? How much does it cost per year? Not just tuition, but think about all of it. If you're going to live on campus, room and board. Every college's website has this information. If you go to a college's website and you search the term cost of attendance, it's an acronym you'll see too sometimes, COA. They have to have this information available to you. So they'll probably show what their tuition is, and then they'll show their COA, cost of attendance. And that's basically taking into consideration things like textbooks and transportation and all those extra things that add up, especially over the course of 4 years or a year, because they'll show a year at a time, cost of attendance. So get an idea of how much college costs. Meet with, I'm going to call them your financial sponsors, because sometimes it's a parent, sometimes it's an aunt or a grandparent or a godparent, whoever in your life has mentioned, hey, I'm here and I would like to help you pay for college when the time comes. And ask how much they plan to contribute. Because some parents and financial sponsors, right, are able to cover the whole cost. Some might say I can cover $5,000 a year, right? Whatever that number is, then you can deduct that from that COA, right? Another thing you can do is complete what's called the FAFSA estimator to basically get an idea of what kinds of financial aid you'll qualify for. So I have the link to that there. What kinds of grants, which is free money, kind of grants will you qualify for? What kind of loans might you qualify for? It's not going to be specifically accurate, but it is going to start giving you an idea. You'll complete the actual FAFSA in the fall. September 1st is when it's usually open. Year has been a very weird FAFSA year because they redid it. Hopefully it's available September 1st for you to fill out and get that real data. And then another thing you can start doing right now is start applying for scholarships. There are plenty out there for juniors, especially starting now. There are starting to pop up more and more and more, especially the big ones like the full ride scholarships. Those applications are starting to become available now in the spring for the class of 2025. So keep your eyes out for scholarships. In fact, here are a couple places to look for scholarships if you're excited about applying for some. One of the best places to look is going to be those colleges that you're interested in, going to their financial aid webpage and checking out especially what their merit scholarships are. So if you already know your GPA and you can line that up with the merit scholarship that they provide for that GPA, then you can deduct that from your COA, knowing like, okay, I'm going to hold on to this GPA and I'm going to get $5,000 a year from my college because of it. Local organizations, local businesses, especially if you do work in fast food. I feel like I gave working in fast food like a bad rap earlier because it's not necessarily exploring your potential careers, but I will say one of the very cool things that they do is a lot of fast food restaurants offer scholarships. So check that out. Or even places like Home Depot, if you do have a job, check with your employer and see if they offer scholarships or local organizations. Those are great places to start. There are lots of matching websites. So here's an example of a few that I have linked where you can, and what I don't have linked here is Big Future. Remember them? I love them. They also have a scholarship matching tool. So if you don't want to make a separate kind of login, you can do that. But basically what these do is you create a login, you fill out a bunch of information about yourself, like about your demographics, so you would input that you're a junior now and you're graduating next spring or whatever. But also things like your race, ethnicity, religion, activities that you participate in, whether your parents graduated from college or not, like all this information. And it will match you with scholarships that you're eligible for. So it kind of takes a lot of the search work out. Sometimes they will say you still have to kind of search through. Just because it's recommending the scholarship doesn't mean you'll always be totally eligible for it, if that makes sense. So read the fine print, but it'll give you some ideas and some options. Oregon Goes to College has a great little scholarship application or scholarship calendar. If you click on their website here and go down to the very bottom of the page, they have them listed by due dates. And a lot of them are for Oregon students or students who are applying to colleges in Oregon. So it kind of narrows that field. It's not all not any student in the US can apply for these. It kind of narrows it down, a lot of them, to our state. I run our Instagram page. And I post usually at least one scholarship a day that most students are going to be eligible for. So I have a highlight here of the story. I post them in our stories and then I save them here. So you can follow along and see them in real time and then go back and click on this to click through and see what applications are available and that you're eligible for. I post the link directly in there to make it as easy as possible. So, and then I delete the ones that have the deadline passed. So anyways, that is available to you as well. Okay. So those are our top 5 to-dos. There's some little miscellaneous to-dos that you can consider as well. We have a blog. It's not been active this year, but all the posts from the past are really helpful. Posts about college tours, choosing a major, like I said, internships, like there's all sorts of stuff on there, career exploration. So feel free to check that out. This link is not working, but when I post the recording of this video on our blog, I'm going to include checklists for junior year and senior year on there that you can see at a glance. What should I be doing each month? I also post checklists in the college and career newsletters that I send out each month. So if you don't get those or don't see those, make sure you have your Parent Square or Student Square login all good to go, and you're signed up to get those. Okay. And then I would just say, because this is all a lot, to just set up a regular time, even if it's like once a week for 30 minutes or an hour or 10 minutes a day, whatever, to just start thinking about college, and what it takes to get there and what things you can work on then and there, in that allotted time you give yourself to get one step closer. You'll be so glad that you did and that you didn't wait until the fall of your senior year to suddenly try to do all of this while also taking your classes, right? Split it up, spring and summer and fall. You have a long time to get all these things done. So start now. Like I said, you'll be so glad that you did. Okay. So that's all I have for you. I'm going to pause. I'm going to have a drink of water and I'm going to say